I've had my head in books for years. If Shakespeare was associated with scandal, people would have made jokes about it. Find the jokes, understand the jokes, and find the scandal. The engraving of Shakespeare in the first folio contains a clearly misshapen forehead. Therein lies a joke. It originates with Othello, the critical scene where Othello has a pain in his forehead. Desdemona's handkerchief is too small. Why? The illusion is that his forehead is swelling with the horns of the cuckold. From tragedy comes satire. Following Othello, three separate playwrights play swollen forehead references into their comedy. Ben Jonson in Every Man in His Humor has Tib injuring Cobb's forehead, and he's concerned that he'll be labeled a cuckold. In George Chapman's All Fools, we learn that the cuckold's horn swells the forehead, but none sees it. In John Marston's Parasitaster, the imagined cuckold of the play is named Zuccone, literally zucchini head. It's the same nickname given to Donatello's earlier sculpture with his bulbous forehead. Timing of the swollen forehead reference plays is interesting. The Chapman and Johnson plays were revived and shown at court in the season following the Earl of Oxford's passing, and Marston's play was written at that time. It seems when Oxford passed away, cuckold jokes were a thing. That brings us to the first folio and its swollen forehead. Notice the master engraver's perfectly parallel arcs that describe the swelling of the forehead. Shakespeare seems to be branded a cuckold. We have evidence here connecting Shakespeare with cuckoldry, but is there an explicit example in the theater of a cuckold who's connected to Shakespeare? A few months ago I attended a wonderful production by the Atlanta Shakespeare Company of The Country Wife, William Wycherley's 1675 comedy, and it's all about cuckoldry. There's a cuckold maker and a man who fears being a cuckold, and of course, the cuckold of the play. His name is Sparkish, and in one funny joke that gets a laugh, we learn that he spent his money before he inherited it and was a cuckold before he was married. Earl of Oxford spent quite a bit of money in his youth. This sounds like it could be him. The more interesting passage in the next act, Sparkish tells us a bit of meta-theater, that the playwright takes wise and witty men and turns them into stage fools. He does this with a hocus-pocus trick, some hictious-docious topsy-turvy business. And Sparkish tells us he's afraid that's happened to him. Well, hocus-pocus and hictious-docious are spells. The playwrights cast a topsy-turvy spell to create the stage fool. How do we undo this topsy-turvy spell? It's a pun. It's topsy-turvy spelling. Spell it with me. S-P-A-R-K-I-S-H spells Shakespeare. If you want to find Shakespeare, go to the theater.